Every episode begins the same way, with footage staring back at me on a timeline and questions I don't always have the answers to. Is there a story here? Or did I miss it while I was moving forward? Before I get started on today's edit, here are some clips from the last episode. A year ago, sometimes more. Back when the road felt clear, and the purpose felt easier to name. I'm going to try something a little bit different in this episode. I talked to my friend Frank and he gave me some, a couple of stories, a couple of things about this area as he was from here. I'm going to try to weave them into today's story, I think. This should be interesting. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Michael. The year I turned 60, I set off on a new challenge to visit all 50 states in the same year, with a focus on small towns, scenic drives, and the stories in between. I documented each journey as it unfolded. This is one of those stories.
New Hope. Gosh, this is so pretty. What you can't see to the left and to the right is the foggy scene of the calm Delaware River and the bare branches and the homes that are on the water. I'm just realizing I don't know how I'm going to get back over the bridge because it's one way. A lot of construction going on. So now we're in Pennsylvania. Very cute. New Hope is this little city. Alright, so we're heading north. Again, we're in Pennsylvania right now. If you're following me on the tour. And we are going to go over this other bridge.
Oh, here we are already at one of these little experiments. I mentioned I was going to talk about a couple of places my friend Frank talked about, and the first one here is New Hope at Christmas. We'll see how this goes. Anyway, you can see how cute the buildings are here. Frank said he spent a little time up here, and one of the things he always remembered was how New Hope feels at Christmas. And I get it. The town sits right along the Delaware River, and when the season flips, the place just softens. Old storefronts, brick buildings, warm windows, a little glow everywhere. I'm kind of reaching out to Midjourney to help me create some pictures here of what it thinks it might look like. And then there's the train. The New Hope Railroad runs those Santa rides every winter. Anyway, we're moving north now. I think I got to cross over into New Jersey if I'm not mistaken. We'll get back to my story somewhere along the Delaware.
Apparently I'm going to miss Lambertville's Winter Festival at River's Edge. And I was really looking forward to seeing the Strange Brew crew and the Hammers. Check out all the mallards. I've never seen so many ducks in one area. Look at all of them. There must be 100 ducks in this area. What's going on, guys? It's like mallards for days. The most mallards. I'm in Lambertville, New Jersey. Walking along this canal. The noise in the background is the water. Now mind you, the river's over to my left a ways. Then there's land, and then there's this canal that's immediately to my left that this path is on. What happens is the water comes from the canal and overflows, goes down this little waterfall, and then goes underneath the canal and feeds into the river. I've never seen that kind of a system before. I'll show you a little clip of it here. Talked to a couple of women that were walking up on Bridge Street, and I said, well, first of all, I asked, there was a guy, a construction guy walking across the bridge. I walked out there halfway, took a couple of shots, and I says, what's a lot of work on the bridge, huh? Wait, where's this go? Hold on, check this out. Huh. Parking by permit only. I feel like I'm in Europe. I feel like I'm in Holland somewhere, you know? Anyway, I said to them, or the guy told me that they were doing, so what's going on? He goes, we're rebuilding the underside of the bridge. This thing's ready to fall apart. I think he said it's ready to fall into the river. Like, okay, as I'm walking on it. And they said, well, it's like, I don't know, it's over 100 years old. They're doing some work on it. They didn't have much more information than that, but I did ask them, I said, so is this fog typical of this area? And they says, not at all. We haven't seen fog like this in a while, so I'm pretty lucky to be here to capture the images and, I don't know, get a feel for this place in a unique, atmospheric environment. So there I was, standing by the canal, talking about ducks, completely unaware that I'm walking on an old mule towpath. What's a towpath? My friend Frank clued me in a couple of days ago. Again, I had no idea where I was. So here's the story. Before electricity, engines, or highway freight, there was muscle, and most of it came from mules. When the Delaware and Raritan Canal opened in the 1830s, it served as a vital commercial waterway through New Jersey. Boats and heavy barges didn't just float where they pleased, they were pulled. Teams of mules walked a narrow towpath alongside the water, hauling loaded boats up and down the canal like slow, steady iron horses on a watery railroad. Of course, my story's been enhanced again by a few images I created with some AI tools, as I wasn't really around in the 1800s to capture the footage. Some of these are pretty good, actually. Some of them, well, not so much. Fast forward to today, it's kind of quiet. Ducks, bikers, and a guy with a camera pointing at the water. It's easy to miss the fact that this peaceful strip of land once moved entire economies, which is kind of humbling, and of course slightly embarrassing, because I completely missed it the first time around. Well, that won't be the last.
You know you stopped at a cool place for lunch when this is the lighting fixture in the bathroom.
the back end of a church that I was in a few minutes ago. Actually, maybe it was a couple hours ago. It was really cool. I was the only person in there. They had some music playing, and I got a lot of shit to say. Hold on. Okay, got to get back to our bridge tour. I just gotta say that, again, if I had to pick small towns that I would love to visit again, and or I wouldn't mind living near or in, I think Lambertville's another one of those. I met an interesting person. I had mentioned that church, just outside of the church. I mentioned that I knew Michelle Rago, and that I think she had bought a place up here. And she knew Michelle. She's like, oh yeah, she bought a place off my sister or something like that. It's a small world, right? This girl used to have a restaurant here. I think she moved here in the 80s. She had a restaurant for like 30 years, I think. Almost 40 years. And we were talking about how eclectic the place is and how diverse it is and how creative and you know what the market is, who comes here, when they come, the weather, just all that stuff. And again, I keep saying I'm going to get people on video, and I don't, but what I do try to do from time to time is come in here and maybe, you know, recall the conversations I had. And now, since I finished lunch, I just want to mention the bartender guy that was serving. Really nice guy. Jim is his name. Retired, about my age, a little over 60, I think 62. And he's working there a couple nights a week, I think less than 20 hours, just for some little extra spending money, taking him to Social Security. We were talking about how, you know, when you have it in you to travel and go and explore and do things, you should do it, you know. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, I think is the saying he used again. Although I'm not sure how that figures into that, now that I think of it. He lives in Pennsylvania, just on the other side. He told me about another cool place to stay in New Hope, and then there's another area north of there. I got to look on my map. I can't remember the name. They do a really nice Christmas lighting setup. Yeah, I just kind of like really fell in love with this place, Lambertville. Who knew? We're moving on. We're going on to another bridge. We're busting out of Lambertville, as they say, or as I say. Where are we going now? Oh, okay. Place called Washington Cross. Washington Crossing, and it goes to Washington Crossing. So I think it's like, isn't there a Kansas City, Kansas, and a Kansas City, Missouri? Maybe it's the same kind of deal. They share the name. So we're going to get down there, check that bridge out. He said the Trenton Bridge is pretty nice too. So that's where we're going to end up before we get over to Pennsylvania and head north. So what a great little lunch break. Great conversation with a couple of locals here. And right now it's really slow. A lot of the galleries are closed. I think Tuesday is a slow shop day, which is fine. I got a totally different feeling. They say normally on the weekends in the summer this place is packed. So it's kind of nice to see it on a foggy Tuesday morning in December. I feel like I had the place to myself. All right, let's hit the road. So we've arrived at Washington Crossing Bridge, which you can see behind me. Well, I don't know what I'm looking at actually. My friend Frank said that he had kayaked around here, and there was one place that he stopped underneath the bridge and sat on the stone part and had wine and cheese. Let me wonder if this is the bridge he was talking about. Let me turn the camera around. See that flat area down in there? Perhaps. Another bridge. I'm not sure what's floating down the river here. What do you think that is?
Driving across this bridge, it's easy to miss what happened here. I did. Frank reminded me later. When you look at the Washington Crossing Bridge today, it might look like an old span of steel and stone. But what happened in this very stretch of river changed the course of a nation. That narrow historic bridge, built in the early 1900s, connects Pennsylvania and New Jersey, just downstream from where General George Washington and his Continental Army made their legendary winter crossing of the Delaware River on a night in late December of 1776. That one move didn't win the war, but it kept hope alive. Today, it's preserved as Washington Crossing Historic Park, and every December, reenactors bundle up and row across the river again while crowds line the banks and watch history replay itself. They still reenact it every year. Same river, same current. Just a lot more spectators now. Well, I hope you enjoyed our little experiment here, number 3. Again, thanks to my friend Frank for filling me in and reminding me of what I was looking at. It's a pretty cool area I was attempting to learn something about while I was driving through on a foggy day in December of 2024. I had one or two more bridges to try to capture, but well, that's another story. Somehow I ended up in the middle of Trenton. Let's just say that not every place on the map fits the story we want to tell. Some places challenge us. Some make us, well, uncomfortable. Now, where was I?
I'm now in Trenton. I don't know anything about Trenton, and I don't want to know any more about Trenton. It's exactly the kind of city I don't want to be in. I don't know, it might be if it's the capital of New Jersey, it's my opinion, a filthy mess. At least what I drove through. You do not want to break down here. A lot of boarded up buildings. So I guess our bridge excursion is basically finished. I was talking to the... Oh my lord, these places look like they're falling apart over here. Look at this. They are falling apart. Looks like various buildings are just being plowed down. Like, let's just start all over again. Okay, I'm right on the edge of this golf course. I was taking some reflective shots off the water, and it's so pretty here. This again, the branches are art when they're around the right atmosphere. Up until now, that atmosphere has been fog, and then this evening it was just the calmness of the air plus the reflections off of the water. So hopefully I made some nice images there. At least I enjoyed a nice view. So anyway, this was a kind of a cool area because just to the other side here, I'm kind of done with this bridge stuff. Like I said, I went through Trenton and realized I didn't want to be in Trenton. I was in a really rough area a couple of times. Got out of there. I'm on my way back now. I'm going to go up toward Frenchtown or Lambertville, take the bridge over, and be in Pennsylvania. Because it's almost 5, so that'll be my 32 hours in New Jersey. Time to hit the road. God, I love travel. Just trying the super night mode here as I'm driving in the rain. It's pitch dark out. I don't love driving at night, and I don't love driving in the rain. And I'm driving at night in the rain. Well, what do you know? Another bridge. Looks like I passed back into Jersey at some point. And now I'm finally crossing back into Pennsylvania. I was on that river road I was on the other day. It was really dark though. How cute is this? Look at this little tan. The problem with driving at night in some of these areas is that people behind you sometimes know where they're going and they're in a little bit more of a hurry, shall we say. It's raining, but it's pretty. It's gonna rain all day tomorrow. I really have to make some plans.
Here, a horse and carriage. Oh, there. Check that out. Oh, how Christmassy. Yep, they got an umbrella. Love it.